so we're just going to continue with the last lot of examples. This first one up here is continuing on from number 3 on the previous video. So we're going to find the value of n and we're going to give reasons along the way. So you need to get your red pen here. This looks very strange because we've got 2 parallel lines, but this angle we're trying to find is stuck in the middle here. So what you do is create another parallel line. So just get your red pen and draw straight through and mark that as parallel to the other ones. While you're there, you can extend these lines, the parallel lines, just so it makes it easier to look at. Okay, so what we're going to do is look at just these 2 parallel lines first, looking across the page. I'll just extend that transversal a little bit. So if we go around this angle, the 60 degrees that we know, and around this angle here, we will form a C shape. So I need a letter that I can call this bit from here to here. Okay, so I'm going to call it A, from there to there. Okay, then we're going to come over here on the other side, and we're looking at these 2 parallel lines. So if we look at those sideways again, and I go around the 50 degrees with a green pen, and then I go around this angle here, and join them in the middle, you'll see I'm also forming another C shape, and that is the letter B that I'm going to call that one, from there to there. Okay, so in both cases we formed a C. This one looked like that, and this one looked like that. So in both cases we're dealing with co-interior angles. So we're going to find the A first. Remember that with co-interior angles, we'll write that reason down under here first. Co-interior angles add up to 180 degrees on parallel lines. So we're going to start with our 180 and take off the 60 that we were given, and that will give you 120 degrees for A. Then over here, we're going to find what we call B. Again, these formed a C shape, so they're co-interior angles. Add up to 180 degrees on parallel lines. So go back up here, because they're adding up to 180, we start with the 180, take off the 50 degrees, and you'll be left with 130 degrees. So if we look at what we've got up there now, we've just found that the A was 120, and we just found that the B was 130. So we had N that we were trying to find. So N, you can't see it anymore, but I'll write it in again. N was that whole bit. So you want to add the 120 for A and the 130 for B, because N is both those angles together, and you'll get 250 degrees. There's no real reason for that. You can write adjacent angles if you like, but they probably won't expect a reason for that. They are next to each other, the A and the B, so they are adjacent angles, but you probably won't be marked down on that one. Okay, so in number 4, we've been asked to find the value of y, which is this little bit. We're looking at the parallel lines going across the page. I'm going to extend my parallel lines, and I'm going to extend this transversal so we can look at it better. Now, if I go around 105, be very careful, because people get a bit stuck on these. You've got to be really careful that you're connecting with the transversal and a parallel line when you mark around your angles. So here's our transversal and here's our parallel line. So if we go around that angle there using our parallel line and our transversal, join them in the middle, you'll see we're forming an F shape. Okay, it looks like this when you look at it sideways. So this angle here and this angle here are corresponding angles to form that F shape. So we can write that reason down below here. Corresponding angles are equal on parallel lines. So the way we're going to write this is this angle here is y and 40 added together. So we're going to write this as y plus 40. That angle has to equal this one on their parallel lines. So y plus 40 needs to equal 105. And then you're just going to solve that little equation by subtracting the 40 to get rid of it. Move it over here to the other side. And you've ended up with your value for y, giving you reason. Okay, question 5. These are the last two. Now in these two, they're asking, is AB parallel to CD? Give reasons. So they want a yes or a no. Are they parallel or are they not? And you've got to give your reasons along the way. So we need to look at the two angles that they've given us, and we're going to go around those angles with your red pen. Join them in the middle. And if you do that on this one, these are the lines, they're not marked as parallel because they can't do that because they're not telling us whether they are. They want you to tell them whether they are. So we're going to look across the page at the two lines that kind of look like they might be parallel. I'm forming an F shape that looks like that. An F shape is corresponding angles, but we'll get to that part in a minute. So what we're going to do is name this angle. And when you're doing the question that's similar to this in the textbook, they've been very slack and they haven't put any letter on the ends of the lines here. You can add those letters in yourself. It just makes it easier for you to write down what you're doing. Okay, so I'm going to name that angle where the 100 degrees is, like this. I'm going to write angle. I'm going to write down the letters I'm going through to go around it. So it's G, F, B. So make sure you go around it and name the letters you're going through. This one sitting here, some of you might be going, oh, isn't that angle F there? No, it's not. It's actually talking about point F. So it's G, F, B when we go around it. And this one here, that E is talking about the point E. So let's name that angle if we go around it. Now you could call it GED or you could call it FED. It doesn't matter as long as you're going around it with your letters. Okay, I might call mine FED. Now we can see that those two angles that we just named, this one and this one, are actually equal to each other. They're both 100 degrees. So we're going to say they're equal. Now, we've just noticed that they form an F shape. So that means we must be talking about corresponding angles because they form an F. So we're going to write the corresponding angles are equal. You can see they're equal. We're not going to write the rest of the reason, okay, because we don't have parallel lines at the moment. Remember I said before you can have corresponding angles when the lines aren't parallel. So we're just going to say, well, we do have corresponding angles because they formed an F shape and they happen to be equal. Now, because they're equal, that means the lines have to be parallel. So we're going to write, therefore, AB, which is this line here, joining A to B, is parallel to. Now I'm going to show you this symbol. Okay, you're allowed to use that. That means is parallel to. CD. So what we're telling them is that this line AB is parallel to the line CD. And we just proved it. If the corresponding angles are equal, the lines must have been parallel. Okay, we're doing the same thing over here on this question. So let's go round the two angles that have got numbers. There's one, And there's the other one, join them in the middle. Okay, we can see a C shape here, which are co-interior angles, and we'll get to that in a minute. So firstly, we're going to name these angles. So this one, we're going to go round it with our letters, so it's B, E, F, or you could have called it B, E, H if you wanted to. And this one down here, the 58, right, it doesn't matter where you start, you can say G, F, D, or you could call it E, F, D, or you could call it D, F, E, or you could call it D, F, G. It doesn't matter. Okay, I might call mine angle D, F, E. D, F, E. It still goes around the 58, so I'm okay. Now, these two are definitely not equal, so I'm going to tell them something else about this. You can see they're not equal, but we were dealing with co-interior angles. And if you think about the reason with co-interior angles, the reason is co-interior angles add up to 180 degrees. Well, let's see what these add up to. Let's see. We're going to add them up. So we've got 120 for angle BEF plus DFE is 58 degrees. And we're going to add them up. So if we add those up, we're going to get 178 degrees. Well, it's close, but it doesn't equal 180. So we say, after that line there, co-interior angles, because they are co-interior because they formed a C, but we're going to say the co-interior angles do not add up to 180 degrees. Now, if they don't add up to 180 degrees, those lines are not parallel. So we're going to say, therefore, AB is not parallel to CD. Okay, so if they don't add up to 180 degrees, the co-interior angles, they are not parallel lines. Okay, so AB is not parallel to CD. Now some of you might be thinking, well, can I use this symbol and just put a little cross through it? No, there's not actually a symbol for that, so we're going to write that in words. So that's the end of the examples. Have a go at your homework. You shouldn't have any problems with them, and maybe towards the end there might be a few tricky ones. If you do have any problems, please let me know. Okay, good luck with them.